Hey guys, yeah, I'm doing this uncut, unscripted, on the fly. But I wanted to do a little bit of MLP discussion or talking here. You see, this morning when I did my live stream about shipping couples, about the history of them in animation and in comics, I briefly brought up the video that Dr. Wolf had done. He did a video, and that video that Dr. Wolf did, I should say, is based around a response or discussion and speculation to a Twitter response, I should say, that Lauren Faust had given a fan. You see, a fan had asked Lauren Faust basically who freed Nightmare Moon in the beginning of the series. And Lauren Faust's response was, go back and rewatch the episode and see who was controlling raising the sun, the moon, and the stars at the time, and you would get your answer, basically. And the only character we knew of that was capable of doing that was Celestia. So by basically kind of giving the answer in her own unique way that it was Celestia that freed Nightmare Moon, the corrupted form of her sister, Princess Luna, it got a lot of people wondering why. And, it got them wondering, it got them speculating, theorizing. And thus Dr. Wolf did the video that he did, and even he was wondering, and even he tried to put the pieces of the puzzle together as to, why Celestia would do this. Now we do know, I think somewhere in the series, it's acknowledged that because Celestia used the power of the elements to banish and exile her sister to the moon for thousands of years, that she couldn't use them anymore. She couldn't use them anymore to bring, to probably, should her sister come back, which she caused to happen, it sounds like, she couldn't be the one to free her because she had used up all the elements and the elements wouldn't respond to her because she had used up their power, but she knew that they would respond to those that had individually inside of them those same elements, which is why, she had Twilight go to Ponyville and make friends. I mean, she even played off the whole, prophecy of Nightmare Moon coming back after thousands of years as an old mare's tale. Basically, not wanting to let Twilight know the whole truth until she felt Twilight was ready, and by being ready, thus basically meaning that Twilight was willing to let friendship into her heart. In other words, be willing to stop being, like antisocial, with the exception of Spike, and just, go around and befriend other characters, and in this case, that being the main six at the time. Thus, then and only then could she understand what friendship is really about, and at the same time, learning her first lesson as well. But at the same time, she would be capable of, she and her new friends would be capable of activating these new elements to, confront Nightmare Moon, defeat her, and thus restore her back to Princess Luna. Now, here's what's funny about this. Dr. Wolf basically stated that in a comparison to what Discord did in the final season, the comparison he made is both seemingly had good intentions, but the only difference was Celestia had this all planned out well in advance. It's like she knew there would be a risk in doing this, but she knew that if there's any pony capable of overcoming it with another group of ponies that, like I said, represented the elements that they would inherit, it was Twilight and her new friends. And that's what happened. That's what happened. And like I said, he made this comparison, noting that the biggest difference between the two, as I mentioned, was Celestia obviously had this all planned well in advance for Twilight to be her first major lesson and to prove herself as being someone that was willing to accept friendship into her heart and trust others around her and be able to unlock the element's magic. The comparison he made is that while Celestia had this all planned well in advance, Discord, even though he had good intentions, for Twilight and her friends, did not have everything planned out. I mean, he even points out the fact that Discord had let these villains know about Grogar's bell, which had the capability of infusing and withdrawing magic from other creatures. So basically, that was a good comparison. But overall, his video, in his video, I should say, he did speculate more so as to why Celestia did this. Again, I think I mentioned that Celestia, continuity-wise, couldn't use the elements anymore because she had used their full power, to banish her sister as Nightmare Moon to the moon for that 1,000-year period. So she couldn't really use the elements to even, bring her back. Or she could use the magic of controlling the stars and the sun and the moon to bring her sister back, but she didn't have the power to, be able to use the elements to free her, and that would take basically some ponies else, I should say, other ponies specifically that had the capability of doing so. But besides that it's a really interesting video that Dr. Wolf did because he speculates on all that. And it also kind of ties in a little bit to how Celestia, throughout the series, pretty much when she brings it up, feels guilt over what she did. Because I think if you look at it from that kind of a text point, Celestia not only felt guilty about what she did, but kind of felt guilty of the fact that she didn't have the abilities that, even though she could at the time raise the sun, the moon, and the stars to have them be aligned exactly to allow Nightmare Moon's return, that she didn't have the power upon that scenario to be the one to free her sister, that she had to depend on others. Which again ties into, her lesson for Twilight about friendship, her first lesson. Now, again, the video that he did is really interesting. Dr. Wolf, that is really interesting. I say check it out. But it all stems, this video and discussions at places like the MLP forums, the message boards at Equestria Daily itself. And I'm sure they may be talking about it or have talked about it on the Semi-Perfect podcast tonight. It's really an interesting scenario or topic to really discuss at times, because now it makes you think, did Celestia have this all planned out from the beginning? Like, she knew how special Twilight was going to be, and by knowing this, she realized that Twilight could be the only one that was capable, along with others, to be able to be the next ruler of Equestria, to be her heir to the throne. It makes you think. So, yeah, I'd say check out Dr. Wolf's video, and you'll pretty much kind of enjoy what you see. I'll put it that way. Now, getting on to some other MLP news, or discussions, I should say, topics. We do know that, as I mentioned before, the Season 10 comic is happening this spring. But what's interesting, and I didn't notice about this about this until later on. What's interesting is we're not entirely getting a new book. Instead, it's just going to be the traditional, regular main comic, continuing number-wise, issue-wise, if you will, from a numeric perspective, as if nothing's changed, with the exception of the one change. You see, even though the main comic's going to continue numerically from an issue standpoint, the one change that is going to differentiate is the fact that it's going to be acknowledged as Season 10, and underneath the issue number, you're going to have an episode number. That's right. So in other words, issue 89 is also going to be known as episode 1 of Season 10. But what's interesting about this is it sounds like each of these stories, each of these episodes, if you will, are going to be multi-part. In other words, this first one is going to be, that features AppleJack, Tempest, Rawkoof, and Zecora, is going to be a 4-parter. So 89, 90, 91, 92, and they're all going to be labeled under episode 1. And that got me thinking, okay, if they're labeled under episode 1, then that means future episodes are also going to be multi-parts. So it kind of gives you the feeling of a full-length episode. Like it's going to take you literally 22 minutes or so to read each issue back to back to get a full episodic feel. And basically, if that's what they're planning, then you could look at potentially episode 2 being a multi-part story, whether it's 4 parts, 2 parts, 3 parts, or whatever. You could see episode 2 going from, let's say if it is 4 parts itself, going from like 93, 94, 95, 96. And then you could see episode 3, if that ends up being 4 parts, going, 97, 98, 99, 100, and 100, ending with the 100th issue. And then maybe so on and so forth. And I did some calculations. I multiplied the scenario of 4 into 26, because 26 is the number of episodes. And the number I came up with was 104. And I'm thinking, and it got me thinking that we're potentially looking at 100 issues of the comic that would comprise 26 episodes. That's what we'd be looking at. Potentially 100 issues. Now, if it starts here in 89, then that means the series or the season would end in issue 190 or 189. But again, that all depends on how they arc the story. Some stories could be shortened to where, the less parts or the less multi-parts it is, the more time you have to build to potentially issue 200. And I think right now that's the plan. That is the plan for them to do. That, if they're going to go the multi-part, story arc for each issue, where every issue continues the episode, then I could look potentially at between 190 and 200 as being the ending point for the season. I could see that. I could see them doing 4 parts here. I can see them doing maybe a one shot here and a 2-parter there and a 3-parter there, maybe even a 5-parter, to kind of really extend things, to really build things up as you get towards that anniversary issue. And here's the thing, they're going to go through several anniversary issues just to get to this point. I mean, you're going to go, and then before this year's out, you're going to probably hit the 100th issue. Because like I said, think about it. You have 89, 90, 91, 92. That's, what is it? April, May, June, July. Okay. So then you have August, which is 93, September, which is 94, October, which is 95, November, which is 96, and December, which is 97. And then you look at January of next year and February of next year, you're looking at 98, 99. By the time we reach the 1-year anniversary mark for season 10, we'll be at 100 issues. So the obvious plan could be just to have season 10 run several episodes, several multi-part arcs, if you will, to get to the 100th issue, and then that's it. Or the plan is to either get it to 125, or which would take another 2 years, or the plan would be to get it to 150 or 175 or even 200. Again, it depends on how long the comic runs and lasts and how popular it is with the audience, with the fans. And right now, it seems to be on the path, seems to be on the verge and the path, I should say, of becoming very popular with fans because, going back to Dr. Wolf, he did a video prior to the one he did today talking about the season 10 comic and the first, synopsis and story arc that we're going to get. And he mentioned it before when the news broke that this was going to happen, that comics do have a little bit more leeway, that they'll be able to do things that the series teased but never really fully went through. Went through, I should say. Yeah, went through, basically. Basically, that they fully teased potentially could happen, but never fully committed to doing it or following through. That's what I was trying to say, following through with it. So, the comic is now basically picking up where it left off. I mean, we know that the comic originally always did things outside of what the series did a little bit more maturely, a little bit more darker, more risky at times, doing more romantic kind of stuff. So the comic's willing to take risk. Even with a season 10 branding, season 10 and episodic branding, it's willing to stay the same. The only difference, like I said, is it's going under the moniker of season 10, episode, season 10, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and all that. So it's really intriguing. It's really intriguing what they're doing here. And again, it all depends on how far they go. Because if they go the traditional 26 episode route, I can see that running until about around issue 75, but more likely issue 200. I could see it running up until that point, until they get to, issue, 200. And again, they could do stories that are multi-part issues that can expand from 4 to 5 to maybe 6 parts to really not only make the story feel bigger, the episode story, if you will, feel bigger and more epic, but help build to that inevitable anniversary issue, which if they play their cards right, if they have it planned out the way they do right now, because plans can indeed change, would be issue 200 or around that. So basically that's what the comic's going to be doing. It looks like every episode is going to be a multi-part story, a multi-issue part story, whether it's 4 parts, 3 parts, 2 parts, 5, one shots, whatever. It's going to be multi-parts, and that's going to be really interesting. That's going to be a really interesting direction to go in. And what's even more interesting, and I'm sure a lot of fans of the comic are happy about this, is it's not going to reboot or softly retcon or reboot the comic to go back to just issue 1. It's going to numerically issue number wise. I said it earlier. Numerical. From an issue standpoint, just keep going as if nothing changed. And again, from a numerical standpoint, like I said, it's going to continue as if nothing changed. The only changes, though, minor changes, or small changes, is it's going to go under the season 10 moniker, and then underneath the issue number is going to be the episode number. So it's really interesting. Really, really interesting. And and I guess as time goes on, we'll find out exactly how far they go with this. Now, speaking of the comic, but now speaking of MLP, one thing that a lot of fans have pretty much backed up is you're always going to have fan-made material. And Equestria Daily brought this to my attention and others' attention that there's a new fan vid out based on a League of Legends music video, but in this case it's SFM, stop frame motion, I guess, I don't know, CGI basically. It's an SFM/CGI video done by a fan that's based on the League of Legends music video, but instead of League of Legends characters, you have the characters of Sunset Shimmer, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Twilight. So, and it looks like Sunset is the lead singer in the song. So, yeah, this right there definitely shows you that the official animation portion of the show may be over, but the fandom is still going as strong as ever. Another example, like I mentioned before, is the previous month with Days Gone By, which was an animation done by the same people that were behind the Double Rainbow animation from several years before. And Days Gone By was an Apple family, AppleJack video based around the song, which was performed in there because it essentially was a music video, Days Gone By, which was sang by AppleJack in the album It's a Pony Kind of Christmas. So yeah, that's happening. It's KDA is what it's called. KDA, a League of Legends deal. You can find it at Equestria Daily, which will link you to the YouTube page. So overall, not too bad. Not too bad whatsoever. And that's really all I can say. That's really all I can say, guys. So, but let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are on Lauren Faust revealing that it was Celestia, pretty much revealing that it was Celestia that freed Nightmare Moon, the corrupted form of Luna, to come back. I can basically set everything into motion. As well as what are your thoughts on IDW going the route of doing multi-issue stories, for one episode? Like I said, in this case, 89 to potentially 92 for episode 1. Let me know what your thoughts are. How far do you think issue-wise it's going to take us? Should they go that route? And what other fan animations and stuff are you hoping to see in the future based on anything that you feel MLP related needs to be addressed or looked at or done? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. And I am out. And yes, this will also be part of my audio podcast, which you can find at various podcast locations.